The allegations Meghan has made are simply not true. Her account does not reflect what actually happened, and it has led the public to a deeply misleading impression. That version of events has no basis in...
The royal tour was supposed to project unity, stability, and confidence. Instead, one sentence brought the entire operation to a standstill. Prince William and Princess Catherine made it unmistakably clear they would not participate if Meghan received equal billing beside them. What had begun as a carefully managed overseas appearance suddenly became a battle over rank, trust, and who had the right to represent the future of the crown. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. William said nothing when the final briefing reached his desk. He read the page twice, then lowered it with a calm more dangerous than anger. Catherine watched him, and she knew the tour had crossed a line neither could ignore. The palace had built the Commonwealth visit as a display of unity after years of division. A Commonwealth tour meant a journey across nations linked through the Commonwealth, to strengthen diplomatic ties and show royal continuity. Yet the schedule did more than place Harry and Meghan beside the Waleses. It gave both couples matching prominence, identical publicity space, and ceremonial descriptions suggesting equal standing. Catherine felt the insult before she spoke. Years of service, silence, and discipline suddenly appeared to carry no greater weight than a return negotiated through pressure. She told her husband that joining under those terms would not be reconciliation. It would reward attacks without accountability and ask her to smile while her position was reduced. William made the decision with brutal clarity. He and Catherine would refuse the tour unless Meghan was removed from equal billing and the official hierarchy was restored across every program, press release, and ceremonial appearance. The hierarchy meant the order of royal rank and responsibility, determining who represents the crown and in what capacity. For the future king, that order was not vanity. It was duty. The refusal went out in writing only hours before the itinerary was due to reach offices. Courtiers rushed between rooms, phones rang, and senior planners tried to stop the schedule from collapsing before foreign hosts saw the conflict. Harry had not been told. Meghan had not seen the revised position, but the crisis had reached the king. Charles accepted the letter and read it without interruption. Then he set it down, looked toward the officials, and asked the question no one wanted to answer: who had approved equal billing without first consulting William and Catherine? That question would soon expose that this was not merely a disagreement over publicity. It was a collision between four people carrying very different wounds, ambitions, and memories into the same royal arena. Behind the polished schedules and ceremonial language stood four people who no longer viewed the monarchy through the same eyes. For William, the tour concerned duty and succession. For Catherine, it concerned dignity, earned through silence. For Harry, it represented a final path back toward relevance. And for Meghan, equal billing was more than a line on a program. It was proof that the institution could no longer place her beneath those she believed had failed her. William carried the burden differently because he did not see himself as another guest on a royal journey. He saw himself as the future king, responsible for protecting the chain of command that kept the monarchy stable. That chain of command meant the clear order of rank, duty, and constitutional responsibility inside the royal family. To him, giving both couples identical status did not create harmony. It suggested that lifelong service and public celebrity now carried the same weight. Catherine entered the dispute with far less anger than pain. She had spent years earning trust through restraint, discipline, and consistency, even when criticism became deeply personal. Now she feared that one objection would be called jealousy, while silence would allow her position to be weakened without resistance. When she finally spoke to William without advisors present, her voice remained calm, but the hurt beneath it was unmistakable. She told him that every interview, accusation, and public insult seemed to have been forgotten, while her own silence was being treated as weakness. William listened without interrupting. The prince had understood the political danger, but only then did he understand how personally Catherine had taken the arrangement. Her dignity had become part of the negotiation, and he would not allow it. Harry faced a different fear. He told Meghan that the tour might be their final chance to stand beside the senior family on equal terms and prove that they had not been permanently pushed outside. She answered with determination, insisting that she would not return merely to walk behind others, smile for photographs, and accept a place she believed had already been used to diminish her. Meghan had already approved preliminary wording, describing both couples as leading representatives of a renewed modern monarchy. The phrase went far beyond participation. It quietly presented two centers of royal influence, where only one recognized line of succession existed. Harry discovered the wording alone. He read it twice, and his confidence began to fade. The announcement did not simply restore him. It placed him in direct competition with William, the brother he had once defended, followed, and trusted. Charles now faced an impossible choice: protect the hierarchy demanded by the future king, or preserve the fragile reconciliation he had privately promised his younger son he would attempt. Yet the refusal did not begin with the tour document itself, because one earlier encounter had already convinced William and Catherine that equal billing would never remain merely symbolic. Every royal rupture has a moment that later appears inevitable. In this case, it occurred months before the tour was announced, during a private planning ceremony at Windsor. What should have been a restrained rehearsal for a charitable event became a warning no one fully confronted. A chair was moved, a speaking order was changed, and Catherine watched as a supposedly minor concession transformed into a direct challenge to her place within the family. Catherine entered the Windsor charity reception planning session, expecting caution, not conflict. The reception was a formal event designed to connect royal patrons with international guests and charitable leaders, while the running order set who would speak, when they would appear, and whose role carried official priority. William believed the rehearsal could prove that both couples were capable of sharing space without reopening old wounds. Harry believed the same opportunity might show that he and Meghan still belonged inside the family's public future. Meghan studied the program and noticed that Catherine had been named the principal royal speaker, while she had been given shorter closing remarks. The main speaker carried the event's formal authority, whereas the closing role offered recognition without placing that person at the center of the occasion. She asked for her chair to be moved beside Catherine's and insisted that both women should be introduced together as equal hosts. The room changed instantly. An aide lifted the chair and froze, waiting for someone to approve the move. Catherine closed her folder, looked toward William, and said the original arrangement had already been agreed. She did not raise her voice. She did not argue. Yet the prince could see the humiliation beneath her restraint, and Meghan could see that her request had struck far deeper than the wording on a page. Charles stepped in before the silence became an open confrontation. The king approved the shared introduction, believing one concession might create goodwill and prevent the rehearsal from collapsing. Harry relaxed, convinced his father had chosen peace. Meghan accepted the decision as proof that the old structure could change. William saw something far more dangerous. Harmony had been purchased by reducing Catherine's position. Meghan spoke privately to Harry after the ceremony, unaware that a senior courtier remained close enough to hear. She told him that the shared introduction proved the hierarchy could be renegotiated when enough pressure was applied. He answered with caution, but she repeated that the palace had moved because they had refused to accept less. William later received a documented account of that conversation from the courtier who overheard it. When the same equal status language appeared months later inside the royal tour proposal, the future king understood the Windsor incident had never been isolated. It had become the model for something larger. With the hidden pattern finally visible, William decided that written objections were no longer enough, and the dispute moved toward the face-to-face confrontation everyone inside the palace had feared. The confrontation begins without cameras, advisors, or ceremonial smiles. 4 chairs face one another in a private royal sitting room, but no one relaxes into them. William arrives carrying the tour document. Catherine enters beside him with quiet resolve. Harry looks defensive before a word is spoken. Meghan remains composed, certain that the meeting concerns details still open to negotiation. Within minutes, however, the language of family gives way to the language of boundaries. Charles had ordered the private meeting because the refusal was no longer a simple family disagreement. A constitutional crisis would mean a dispute affecting the monarchy's official order and public authority, while a public relations crisis could turn private tension into global humiliation. The king believed direct conversation might stop both dangers before they became impossible to contain. William opened the marked itinerary and named the 3 issues without hesitation: equal headline placement, alternating precedence at major engagements, and language presenting both couples as joint leaders of the tour. Precedence meant the formal order determining who appears first, speaks first, and represents the crown at official events. To the prince, that order could not be rewritten to soothe resentment. William pushed the document toward Harry and told him Catherine's position would not be negotiated as compensation for past grievances. Harry fired back immediately, accusing his brother of treating reconciliation as surrender. The younger prince said every compromise appeared acceptable until it gave him something real, while the future king answered that healing could not depend on pretending their responsibilities were identical. Meghan turned directly to Catherine. She asked whether the princess truly believed they should stand beneath her. Catherine paused, choosing each word carefully. She said the question was not about human worth. It was about accepting the duties, limits, and consequences attached to royal status. Meghan heard rejection. Catherine meant responsibility. The difference between them suddenly felt impossible to bridge. Harry then revealed the promise that changed the room. He said Charles had privately encouraged him, during a recorded telephone conversation, to believe the tour would mark a genuine return to the royal fold. William stared toward the king, stunned that expectations of restored status had been raised without consulting him. Catherine delivered the final shock. She explained that the proposal did not merely offer Meghan equal publicity, it granted her communications team approval over shared press material involving the Waleses. That meant outside representatives could influence how William and Catherine were presented to the public, an unprecedented transfer of control. Charles reached across the table and removed the document. The king said he would decide whose authority governed the tour, but his voice carried no confidence, only cost. Harry looked wounded. William remained rigid. Meghan said nothing. Catherine understood the truth first. Whatever decision came next, one son would believe his father had chosen the other. The argument had now moved beyond emotion, because the next decision belonged to the person who controlled the royal program, and his private loyalties were pulling him in opposite directions. King Charles holds the power to settle the dispute, yet the crown offers him no painless answer. Approve equal billing, and he risks undermining the heir who must carry the monarchy forward. Reject it, and he may destroy the reconciliation he still hopes to achieve with his younger son. But as the king examines how the proposal was created, another truth emerges. The most dangerous decisions are often made before they ever reach the sovereign's desk. Charles summoned the private secretary and communications director before the tension could spread further. The private secretary was the monarch's senior official advisor, responsible for coordinating royal business and carrying decisions through the palace. He demanded to know how equal billing language had entered the final draft, when the established precedents of William and Catherine had never been in doubt. The answer unsettled him. Palace planners had negotiated directly with Harry and Meghan's external representatives, hoping to secure their participation without provoking another withdrawal. Equal billing had not appeared as one dramatic demand. It had grown through small concessions, each presented as necessary, until the final proposal quietly placed both couples on almost identical ground. Charles read the briefing alone after the meeting ended. He removed his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyes, because the document exposed more than administrative failure. The king had made different promises to both sons. He had assured William that the monarchy's order would remain protected, while encouraging Harry to believe the tour could mark a genuine return. Camilla found him still seated long after the officials had gone. The queen consort understood that the argument was tearing at him as a father, before it challenged him as a monarch. He admitted that protecting Harry from humiliation might require humiliating William. She answered softly, but without hesitation. Affection could not replace order when the future of the crown was at stake. Charles returned to the file and discovered the full scale of the agreement. Meghan's team had requested advance approval over official photographs, stage positions, interview access, and the wording used to describe both couples. Equal billing was not merely a headline arrangement. It formed part of a wider control system that could influence how William and Catherine were publicly presented. The final page delivered the cruelest revelation. On an earlier draft, Charles had written a brief handwritten note, "Find a way to include them." Courtiers had treated those words as permission to concede far more than the king had intended. His attempt at compassion had become the authority behind a challenge to his heir. Charles decided the tour would be revised immediately. Yet before the ruling could reach either couple, Harry received a copy of a contingency itinerary, already prepared because of William's refusal. His name was missing from the principal events. Meghan's was gone as well. The secret plan changed the emotional balance instantly. turning a negotiation over status into the terrifying possibility that two members of the family might be removed altogether. Once the alternative itinerary appears, the dispute can no longer be contained behind palace doors. Engagements are quietly reassigned. Security teams receive conflicting instructions. Overseas hosts are told to expect possible changes without explanation. For the first time, Harry sees in official form what exclusion actually looks like. Meghan sees something different, proof that William's refusal carries greater institutional weight than their conditions. The tour is still alive, but the family structure beneath it is beginning to collapse. Palace planners prepared two schedules before the argument could spread any further. One placed William and Catherine at the center of the tour as the sole leading couple. The other kept Harry and Meghan involved only through smaller charitable engagements, without equal promotional status or ceremonial priority. A ceremonial introduction meant the formal wording used to present royal guests and define their rank before an audience. Changing those words would change how the entire world understood their place. Overseas officials received urgent instructions to delay printing programs. Diplomatic teams began revising seating plans, transport arrangements, and the order in which each couple would enter major events. Those details mattered because royal tours were built on precision. One wrong title, one altered position, or one unexplained absence could become a public symbol of family collapse. Harry received the revised itinerary on his phone while standing alone. He read the opening ceremony first. His name was gone. He checked the state reception, then the principal remembrance event. Nothing. The younger prince stared at the screen as if the missing lines had erased more than appearances. They had erased the return he believed his father had promised. Meghan reacted with anger, not sadness. She told him that accepting the reduced role would validate every hierarchy they had rejected and prove that the palace could still summon them only when useful. Harry listened, then asked the question she had been avoiding. If they walked away again, what would remain for them to return to? Catherine faced a quieter wound. A documented internal briefing informed her that several palace advisors blamed her personally for the crisis, arguing that one temporary compromise could save the tour. The accusation hurt because it turned the defense of her official role into vanity. William saw her reaction and immediately offered to withdraw himself while allowing her to lead the tour alone. Catherine refused. She told the prince that his sacrifice would only shift the blame, not solve the problem. He insisted that the dispute had never been about attention. She answered that standing together now mattered more than protecting either of them separately. The stalemate hardened. Harry would not accept public demotion. Meghan would not endorse the revised schedule. William would not surrender the hierarchy. Catherine would not let him carry the burden alone. Then she made the decision no one expected. Catherine asked to speak privately with Harry, without William, Meghan, Charles, or any courtier present. That request created the first opening not controlled by strategy, because the next conversation would take place between two people who once trusted each other before the monarchy taught them to stand on opposing sides. There are no briefing papers when Catherine enters the small private room, and no aides wait outside with talking points. Harry is already there, standing rather than sitting. For several seconds, neither speaks. Their history hangs between them. Old laughter, shared family milestones, public grief, private disappointment. This is no longer the future queen confronting a royal exile. It is a wounded sister-in-law facing a man who once believed she understood him. Catherine asked for the meeting because every other conversation had become trapped beneath advisors, legal language, and competing public narratives. A constitutional responsibility meant the official duty attached to a royal position, including who could act for the crown and who would one day carry its authority. She believed those duties had to be separated from private emotion before either could speak honestly. Harry agreed because he no longer trusted the machinery around them. He suspected William would never believe his motives again. Yet he still remembered Catherine as the person who once softened the worst moments between the brothers. The younger prince had come prepared to defend himself. Instead, her quietness forced him to listen. Catherine told him the demand for equal billing made her feel more than challenged. It made her feel erased. She explained that years of silence during interviews, accusations, and public criticism had never meant the words caused no pain. She had remained quiet because answering every attack would have dragged the monarchy deeper into conflict, not because she had escaped the damage. Harry lowered his voice and admitted what the tour meant to him. He had seen it as proof that his family still viewed him as more than a problem to be controlled. Losing equal status, he said, felt like being invited home through the servants' entrance, close enough to be useful, but never close enough to belong. Catherine did not reject him. She said she would support Harry and Meghan joining the tour with meaningful duties, separate engagements, and full dignity. But she would not accept language claiming their constitutional positions were identical to hers and William's. Respect, she insisted, did not require pretending responsibility had no order. Harry finally revealed what he had hidden even from himself. During their private conversation, he admitted that Meghan's demands had grown beyond what he first expected. He had continued defending them because challenging his wife felt like choosing the palace over his marriage. The confession left him exposed, but it also stripped the argument of its final disguise. Catherine answered that choosing honesty was not betrayal. Harry looked at her, wounded but calmer, and understood that she had offered him something the official meetings never had: a path back without false equality. Harry left with one request. He asked for an hour before Charles announced the final schedule. The private honesty had created a path forward, but the decision now had to survive the harshest arena of all the public world, already preparing to choose heroes, villains, and victims. Before the palace can announce its solution, the dispute escapes into public view. By sunrise, the royal tour is no longer a diplomatic program, it is a national argument about service, race, hierarchy, marriage, loyalty, and revenge. Every photograph is reinterpreted. Every past interview is replayed. Yet one image captures the crisis more powerfully than any commentator. Two royal couples printed at equal size beneath a headline asking which pair truly represents the crown. News organizations confirm that William and Catherine have threatened to withdraw over equal billing, and the story spreads across Britain, the Commonwealth, and international television within hours. The Commonwealth is the voluntary association of nations linked by shared history and cooperation, making the tour more than a family appearance. It is meant to carry diplomatic weight, strengthen relationships, and present the monarchy as stable. Now that stability looks dangerously fragile. Palace communications struggle to contain the damage because the leak includes exact details, shared introductions, matching publicity space, approval over photographs, proposed stage positions. Each detail gives the public something concrete to judge, and every attempt at explanation appears to confirm that the conflict is deeper than a disagreement over names on a program. William watches a broadcaster describe Catherine's stance as a defense of rank rather than dignity. The prince remains still, but she reaches for the remote and switches off the television before the segment ends. Catherine had feared this from the beginning. Her years of restraint have been reduced to ambition, while her refusal to surrender responsibility is being presented as personal jealousy. Meghan hears a different verdict on another network. The presenter frames the refusal as proof that she will never be accepted as an equal, no matter how carefully she returns. She listens with visible anger, while Harry sits beside her in silence. The younger prince knows the private conversation with Catherine has revealed a truth neither broadcast can hold. Both women feel erased, but only one position carries the crown's future authority. Outside Buckingham Palace, the public division becomes impossible to ignore. A morning newspaper carries the front page words, "Two couples, one crown," above mirrored portraits. The royal residence serves as the monarch's official London headquarters, so the gathering beneath its gates turns public opinion into a direct challenge. Some defend the established hierarchy, others demand equal treatment. The argument has left the family and entered the street. Harry then releases a brief written statement through his personal office. He says participation must not come at the cost of another person's constitutional role. The wording is careful, but unmistakable. He has withdrawn his support for equal billing without publicly blaming Meghan. Minutes later, Charles summons all four of them. The king will deliver the final ruling personally before the world hears it. The argument has reached its final chamber, where the monarch must transform private pain into a decision strong enough to preserve the tour without pretending the family has returned to what it once was. The final meeting is quieter than the confrontation that preceded it. No one raises a voice. No one attempts another argument. Charles enters carrying a single revised itinerary and places it at the center of the table. The decision is no longer about winning. It is about defining the limits of reconciliation inside a monarchy that cannot survive without hierarchy. yet cannot endure if hierarchy becomes an excuse to deny every path back. Charles begins with the future of the tour. The king confirms that William and Catherine will serve as its principal royal representatives, reflecting their place in the line of succession and the constitutional responsibilities they are expected to carry. Constitutional responsibility means the official duty to represent the crown, protect its continuity, and prepare for the transfer of royal authority. The decision restores the order the prince had demanded, but it does not erase the younger couple. Harry and Meghan receive separate, substantial engagements connected to veterans, youth initiatives, and international charitable work. They will be publicly recognized, given meaningful platforms, and treated with dignity. But they will not receive equal billing, shared control over publicity, or alternating ceremonial precedence. The ruling gives them a role, without pretending that their responsibilities are identical to those of the future king and queen. Meghan absorbs the decision in silence. She understands that the palace has not rejected her presence, but it has rejected the symbolic equality she believed would prove her return carried real power. Harry reaches for her hand. The younger prince makes it clear that he will remain beside his wife, even though he no longer believes prolonging the dispute will protect either of them. Catherine feels relief, but no triumph. She looks toward Harry and quietly thanks him for reconsidering his position. William then assures his brother that the work assigned to him and Meghan will not be hidden, reduced, or treated as ceremonial decoration. The future king has defended the hierarchy, yet he refuses to turn victory into humiliation. Charles finally admits how the crisis began. His vague instruction to find a way had allowed courtiers, advisors, and family members to imagine entirely different promises. The monarch accepts responsibility and orders that every future joint appearance follow written, transparent rules. Charles removes the original equal billing proposal from the folder. The king tears it once through the center, ending the arrangement that nearly destroyed the tour before it began. William and Catherine join without surrendering their position. Harry and Meghan participate without being presented as constitutional equals. No one receives everything, but the monarchy emerges with its hierarchy clarified, its boundaries restored, and a narrower, more honest reconciliation accepted. The tour did not heal every wound, but it established the truth the family could no longer avoid. Reconciliation could offer dignity, respect, and a place to serve, but it could not rewrite responsibility, erase consequence, or place personal demands above the future of the crown. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.